The Daytona 200 by Arai is brought to you by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, personal watercraft, and scooters. And Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road.
Riders waiting on the grid for this, the biggest superbike race in America, which on paper shapes up as a battle between the proven Hondas, winner here last year, and the as yet untried in competition 1000cc Suzuki four-cylinders. Matt Mladen has that horsepower that he missed so much last year. The question is how that horsepower, generally the rider's friend, may treat the tires here at Daytona. 2 stops, 2 tire changes on each. Let's go topside. By the way, Matt was the quick rider in morning warm-up, a 48.8. Up topside to Brian.
Half-second slower than the fastest qualifying time by Ben Bostrom, but that tells us that these guys are up to speed already here today. As they take off for their warm-up lap, let's set the grid for you. Show you the heroes of the 62nd running of the Daytona 200 by Arai. The pole sitter is Ben Bostrom. You've met and talked to him. Curtis Roberts as well. Matt Mladen won here twice, went on to win 2 championships. He's fast this week, along with his teammate Aaron Yates on the Yoshimura Suzuki.
Inside of row 2, starting off with Eric Bostrom, we have the onboard cam with him. Ben Spies, his first Daytona 200 aboard an inline 1000cc, and Anthony Gobert aboard the Ducati. And outside of row 2 is Larry Pegram. Could be the dark horse for the victory. Last spot on the podium.
Miguel Duhamel, the master of Daytona. Jason Pridmore, the reigning Formula Extreme champ. Doug Chandler on a Honda and Michelin's for the first time. Michael Barney, the top privateer qualifier in the Superbike field.
Jordan Zoke with a big 1000cc Suzuki next to Sean Higby, Andy Dethridge, and Jeff May.
And we go back through the rest of the field here, and Steve Rapp, we'll see him along with Josh Hayes, both on Suzukis, as are Mike Sakato and Eric Wood. Watch for Eric Wood. He hadn't even planned on racing here. We'll have more on him later.
Brian Livingood, who had a great Daytona last year, he'll head up row 6 next to Jimmy Moore, John Dugan, and Warwick Nutland.
Then we go back to the next row, number 7, with Adam Krusty Ferguson back from Australia and racing both Formula Extreme and Superbike. Vincent Hoskovich, John Ashmead, the great veteran here on the number 37 machine. We'll be talking more about him too, as well as James Randolph.
James Randolph making a comeback, Brian, as we go through the rest of the grid here. Just want to point out that Dave Despain mentioned a 48 lap time. That's on a green racetrack, and Matt Mladen, I can already tell you, we talked to Curtis Roberts. He's saying, I don't want to get involved in anybody else's race strategy, but I think what he was talking about, he doesn't want to get involved with Matt Mladen's race strategy in particular, because Mladen is going to let this thing fly on the opening lap, and he's going to try to break away and get away from everybody. Will his tire hold up? That is the key. Dave Despain mentioned that.
Rick Shaw there needs 2 laps to set the all-time distance record here at the Daytona 200 by Arai. Number 79 bike. We'll be checking in with him and his progress. A lot of the men whose names and faces that you see here towards the back of the grid have dramatically improved their lap times, getting just a little more practice in since the rain-shortened qualifying. So things are going to be a lot different here today than they would have been if we had run the race yesterday. Let's go downstairs once again to Greg White.
Thanks, Brian. The number 11 Ben Spies, who raced the Super Sport race yesterday, said that his knee, which had surgery over the offseason, was hurting him so bad they actually lowered his foot peg.
Mladen's pulled out to a decent lead. Duhamel, a three-time winner at Daytona. On board with the Canadian as they go through the infield section. Duhamel leading that Honda well over, jumping up onto the high banks. He's landing that 7th or 8th spot.
The leader over
and
Curtis
here we go back to our
Roberts
American friends. Excuse us for our technical
drawn
problems.
up closer to the man that got away. Miguel moves past in the draft up to 5th position, past Larry Pegram. And there is Miguel on the number 17, one of only a couple of men ever to win here on consecutive races on the same weekend. And we're on board with his camera on the number 17 Honda. Let's go downstairs to Ralph Shaheen with more.
Well, more on Miguel Duhamel. In fact, Brian, I spoke to Al Ludington just a little while ago. They changed the primary gear. This is the first time they've really had a good tailwind, so they changed the primary gear to give them a few more revs down the back straightaway here and through the tri-oval section. Also, remember, a bad flu virus has swept through this Honda camp all week long due to the nasty weather, the long hours that the crews have been putting in. Miguel has it right now. I talked to him this morning. He said, I'm only about 80% of what I should be racing here today.
Minute and 49-second lap for Matt Mladen, so they're on a pretty good race pace here. Just a full second off of the fast qualifying time, but you would expect that if they can keep up doing 49s, things are going to be just fine. Talking about gearing up on Miguel Duhamel, that was what he said cost him a possible victory in the 600 Super Sport race. He was undergeared, hitting the rev limiter, and we've got a rider down. Larry Pegram off the Dream Team Racing Ducati, number 72.
Got the wind knocked out of him. Oh, the bike took a huge tumble. That's a Suzuki. I don't think it's Larry Pegram. That's a Suzuki.
No, that's Larry's paint scheme. He's got a blue-looking bike there, and that looks familiar. His leathers look familiar. Well, it's hard to say at this point. We certainly can't see the number on that trashed bodywork.
No, we're not going to be able to pick that up.
That is a Suzuki, okay.
Yeah, it may be Ben Spies. I'm not sure. I'll have to. They're showing Ben Spies on 7th place here, but we'll keep an eye on this and get that report to you as soon as we can. But I'll tell you what, Matt Mladen is checking out.
Definitely a Suzuki, and I look like, I don't know. We're just not going to, we're going to quit guessing until we find out for sure who it is. Right now it's Matt Mladen out in the lead over Curtis Roberts. That is certain for sure. Aaron Yates running in 3rd position, cross start finish line, a second and a half back from the leader. So with Mladen out in front and only 2 laps down of 57 to complete, we're going to take a quick break and come right back.
And once again, as our American friends have gone to a commercial break at Motorz TV, we're here to bring you all the action flag to flag here today from the Daytona 200. We're on lap 3 of 57. Matt Mladen ahead of Curtis Roberts with Aaron Yates in 3rd. Mladen's gotten off to a very respectable lead, but Roberts is closing in, and Roberts gets past. How about that? Curtis Roberts takes the lead.
Yep.
So and now we've got Roberts
Curtis
from
Roberts
Mladen
into the lead
with the Aaron Yates 3rd. But here we go. Matthew Mladen's going to the inside, and Mladen takes the place back. Well, we've got quite a duel up at the front of this 68 bike field today.
Good look
here we
back,
go, number 20 coming up for 3rd.
Can you let him go through
Aaron
and see
Yates
if we
is
can
3rd,
find the
with Miguel
11?
Duhamel 4th. But the battle is at the front.
Let him go through on this turn.
We've got Mladen with Roberts, with Yates, with Duhamel. It's a four bike run at the front.
I don't know if Chuck knows.
And Mladen making his way back up onto the super speedway. He's got Roberts in tow. Roberts looking to the inside. This is going to take a lot of guts. So anyway, We have 57 laps to cover today. We're only on lap 4, and we're going to send you back to our American friends here in just a few seconds.
Michael Barnes, maybe? No.
Welcome back to the Daytona 200 by O'Reilly on a Monday morning here in sunny Florida for the first time since we can remember. Actually, Wednesday, this past Wednesday, was the last sunny day. Thursday was a little bit sunny, but here we are racing the way it should be. And Matt Mladen lost the lead to Curtis Roberts briefly, but has taken it back, and now it's Aaron Yates behind him, and Roberts has retaken the front position.
Brian, they're showing Ben Spies in 8th place, so I mis-ID'd that guy. We're still working on that one. The battle up front is getting intense.
Yep.
Drafting and passing. Curtis Roberts really went after Matt Mladen into the horseshoe. Matt Mladen striking back, but these guys looking at each other on the straightaway go, man, you really want to fight this hard this early?
And no, it was not Larry Pegram either, because he's still being shown in 9th place. So Spies 8th, Pegram 9th, neither one of them. Ralph Shaheen, more.
Brian, take a look at the lap times that these guys are running, dipping down into the 149s, and some conversations with some of the top mechanics down here. That's a race pace that nobody was really expecting this early on in the race. So we might see, if we're not careful, some tire wear developing here that the teams hadn't planned for this early in the race.
Well, Ski, the thing to look for is when the tires start going away, and you've got a very good eye for that, and we'll be watching very closely. But right now we want to take a look at the little exchange of passing between Matt Mladen and Curtis Roberts that took place in the infield.
This is way too early to be doing this. Curtis Roberts really working the inside. He just got sucked into the turn 1. Watch this. Matt Mladen striking right back, and watch. Takes a look over his shoulder and says, hey, bud, really want to go that hard this early? I'll go with you.
Looking back to see who else was there, which included his teammate Aaron Yates and Miguel Duhamel. So let's go down now to the studio. Dave Despain with more to add.
Well, just following up on the lap time issue, that last lap by Roberts dropping to a 1:51 1/4. Jimmy Allen from Dunlop says these tires will give you a 49, but only for a couple of laps, and then they drop off. But when they drop off, they tend to level off. In other words, they'll drop to a 51, and then you can ride it at a 51 or maybe a low 52 all the way to the pit stop. It just gets harder to do at the tail end of the run. So in terms of pace, it looks pretty ferocious. I think the tire guys would be pretty satisfied with this. I'm curious about how well Curtis will save his tire, given what happened here last year.
Aaron Yates drafting past up into 3rd place. That's a good point. Right at about lap 6 here. On board, Chevy Trucks onboard cam with Miguel Duhamel. Right about lap 6, Brian, and Dave brings up a good point. The tire kind of shows its character to you, and there's remarkable consistency amongst all the tires, but really you never know until you feel it for yourself. And right about lap 6, the tire's going to tell you this is what you got.
We heard some of the guys talking about how 4, 5, 6 laps, their challenge was to get through those first 5 laps or so until the tire indeed showed its true character, that it went through that first heat cycle and stabilized. Curtis Roberts seems to like what he's got, and Miguel Duhamel right behind him. Yates 3rd, Mladen shuffled back to 4th. We've still got 7 bikes in the lead group right now, all in contact with one another, and a little further back, Ben Spies and Larry Pegram trying to get up there and join them.
Coming out of turn 6 onto the bull here, you'll start to see Aaron Yates there spinning it up. Greg White, what do you got for us?
Definitely a podium hopeful Jason Pridmar on the attack Suzuki GSX-R 1000. He's hearing something, a really bad noise in the engine. He pulled it in, and I don't know if they're gonna send him back out and see what's what, but he heard a nasty noise. He's gonna go back out, but it looks like he's got a deficit he's not gonna be able to make up in this race. Ryan?
Well, the first rolling casualty of the Daytona 200 by O'Reilly. And there's Ben Bostrom, who's running back in 6th position. He's firmly in that lead group, which he was also involved with on the 600 Super Sport race. We're on board with Ben Bostrom now, looking forward to brother Eric. And back up front, Curtis Roberts, Miguel Duhamel, and Aaron Yates with Matt Mladen in company.
Matt Mladen's tires starting to really slide through the tri-oval. He's spinning it up. That's 185 mile an hour power slide. He thought about drafting past going into the lead, and the rear end just snapped out about 1.5 feet.
Eric Bostrom right up behind him as well. And there are the leaders as they went by. Just that close together here. 6 laps in. Lap number 7 is what we're working out of 57 total. Still in the early going here, but the battle for the lead is just exactly that. No one is willing to settle down. Curtis Roberts seems to be the most determined to lead this race after Matt Mladen led the first 5 or 6 laps. That could have been just to see what his tire gave him. Ran some 49s for a while. They're running 50s pretty steady right now. We're going to step away for just a moment and return to the Daytona 200 by a ride. Here we are, along with you at the Daytona 200 by a ride, round 1 of the Chevy Trucks U.S. Superbike Championship. There's still a 7-way battle for the lead here going on. Aaron Yates drafting by. Here comes Curtis Roberts drafting by a lap rider. Anthony Gobert is right there in 3rd position. Miguel Duhamel in 4th. And the order keeps shuffling among those front 7 riders. Almost all of them have taken the lead except for Eric Bostrom and Ben Bostrom and Anthony Gobert. Among all the rest, though, someone has taken a turn at the front. Side by side on the banking, Anthony Gobert showing the horsepower on his Blue Bayou Team Austin Ducati.
180 right here, about 185. Just cresting on the edge of the tire. You can hear the revs pick up, but listen to Miguel Duhamel's shifter this time. Coming out with the first gear turn here at 1, you have to grab second real quick and you skip it. Seemed like it was okay that time, but we'll have to keep monitoring Miguel Duhamel's bike. Could be that just our audio is so good on the thing, it sounds a little awkward the way it's shifting. Flying through the dog leg. You see the rear end snapping out.
Let's go down to Greg White with more on the 17 bike.
Well, thanks. Miguel Duhamel has communication with the pits via a radio, and I asked Al Ludington really quick, is Miguel having a problem? Has he said anything? And Al said, no, of course not. So that was not much of an answer, but it looked like from what Al was saying that definitely Miguel has not said anything yet.
Okay, it just could be that he's having a little bit of trouble getting into second gear because the rear tire's spinning. I mean, talking about a 200 horsepower V-twin motorcycle, there's a whole lot happening there at the rear tire right now, especially with 9 laps in, and the pace these guys are cutting. The tires aren't going to hold up to this pace. Hopefully they'll all stay together though.
Curtis Roberts, Aaron Yates in order. Anthony Gobert and Miguel are right there. Here's some side-by-side racing action up on the high banks, and we go 3 wide. Way up high goes Anthony Gobert on the Ducati, blazing right by.
Big speed, 3 wide into 1. Here comes Duhamel up the inside. In through turn 1 here, left side of the tire. Talking with Vic Fasola about Anthony Gobert's bike. I said, how many tire choices have you got? He says, well, we got the croquet ball, we got the bowling ball, and we got the cue ball. So regardless of what you put on these things, every one of them is going to be so rock hard to withstand these high banks.
Harder and hardest, but Anthony Gobert has gone to the front. Aaron Yates right there with him. And Eric Bostrom bringing up the rear of that 7-bike freight train. Now Bostrom is behind Brother Ben.
And it could be a blessing that Eric Bostrom is out there on the 750 configured Superbike. Last season's settings are definitely capable of running this 49 and 50, 51 perhaps lap times. But that 750 is a little bit easier on the tires.
Eric Bostrom without a win here at Daytona. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen for more.
Well, Brian, don't forget all these top riders are all running the same brand of tire except for Eric Bostrom, so that puts a pretty level playing field out there, and it makes it interesting in 2 areas. Which rider is going to get the maximum out of that brand of tire, and then also it's really going to put a huge emphasis today on pit stops, because that is where these teams don't have a tremendous amount of practice, and a little bit of time can be made, or a lot of time can be lost. And Dave, I know you've had experience with the pit stops here. It's not an easy thing.
I was watching pit stop practice for the Honda crew on, what was it, Saturday, I guess, and they were knocking out pit stops in 8.2 seconds. I walked around to watch Gobert's team practicing pit stops, 12 and a half seconds. Potential loss of 4 seconds on pit road for the Ducati guys, unless they've gotten that practice a whole bunch since then. And I'm not sure they have the time to get that done. So the leader may struggle when lap 19 comes around.
Well, the leaders are doing just fine right now out in front. Anthony Gobert, Curtis Roberts, Miguel Duhamel taking turns with the lead. They're getting into a little bit of traffic right now as 79 riders were entered for the Daytona 200, and Anthony Gobert is going to get to most of them first.
It's bunched up the top 7. This is amazing. I don't believe I've ever seen a Daytona where there's 7 guys in the lead draft. And it looks like, like they're talking about with the pit strategies. Pit stops are going to decide this one today for sure.
Going around the 99 of Doug Duane. And in the corner there on lap number 11, he has got 9 more laps than he needed to set the all-time mileage record in the Daytona 200. Rick Shaw, running in 49th position, has been racing here long enough to have piled up more miles than any other rider in the history of this great event. So a moment of history is made, and we are very proud of Rick Shaw, and we tip our hat to him.
Continuing to knock out 51 flats right in there, so the guys are dipping down as the lap traffic's causing about a half a second delay on the fast laps. Anthony Gobert having no trouble whatsoever working his way through traffic. The Austin Blue Bayou Ducati effort. Vic Pasola crew chiefing on that. Take a look at the average speed. If he could pull this off today, Anthony Gobert would be the first man to put the Ducati marquee at the top of the podium here at Daytona. It's been a long time coming for Ducati. They've always had really good chances, and either silly riding mistakes or mechanical failures have knocked it away.
So Anthony Gobert is leading, trying to become the first man on a Ducati ever to win the Daytona 200 by a ride. Can he do it?
Can Anthony Gobert do it? Will he be the first Ducati rider ever to win the Daytona 200-mile race? Well, we've got 45 laps of racing to go to find out the answer to that question. Two tire stops today, very important in the pits to see who will get the best time in and out of pit lane. But Gobert has his hands full with Curtis Roberts, Aaron Yates, Miguel Duhamel, of course, the brothers Bostrom, Ben and Eric, Matt Mladen. They're all in it. Seven riders in it all for first place, but now they're having to negotiate the lap traffic. It's never an easy task, but here at Daytona they're running 51 flats, an amazing time for these guys. But the question is, can Ducati win their first ever Daytona 200 for the 4-stroke 1000cc machines? Well, Gobert's off to a flying start, but don't forget, he's got Curtis Roberts in his sights. Here we've got Miguel Duhamel in his slipstream. I'm sorry, but the passing for the positions changes every lap, so it's hard to keep up with them, but it is in fact Gobert in front of Duhamel with Roberts behind. Yates is in it as well. The brothers Bostrom, like I mentioned, Eric and Ben, and Matt Mladen. Can never count out Matt Mladen. He's definitely a man to look out for today at Daytona. Today at Daytona, where it's blue skies, no rain forecasted. We're going to get 200 miles of racing in today. So once again, sit back and enjoy. And if you've got anything to tell us, jump on the internet site, www.motorstv.com. And we would like to take a moment. There was some sad news today in the world of motorcycle racing. The 1976 and 1977 World 500cc champion Barry Sheene unfortunately lost his hard struggle with his battle with cancer. Barry Sheene, who was living these last few years in Australia doing TV commentating for Australia's major motorsport channels, doing Formula One coverage and motorcycle racing, of course, lost his battle. Unfortunately, did pass away this early morning in Australia. He leaves his wife, Stephanie, and 2 children, Freddie and Sidoni. We all have our best wishes with him. Please drop us a line on the internet site. Tell us what you think of the one and only Barry Sheene, who unfortunately passed on today. The last British rider to have ever won a race in the Grand Prix circuit. So, we'll send you back to our American friends in the States. Back to Daytona.
Dean Misdahl on the 38 and Greg Fryer on the 60 bike mixed in among the leaders as they get in some heavy traffic here on lap number 13 of the Daytona 200 by Arise. So we're probably a half a dozen laps, maybe less, away from the first pit stop window, at which point things will start to happen in a flurry down on pit road among especially the factory riders. Some of the privateers will come in and stop for fuel only. They don't have crews to change tires. They're going to go out there on bowling ball hard tires too and try to make it all the way to the finish. They'll be sliding around quite a bit towards the end of the race. Lap 13 to 57 here at the Daytona 200. Anthony Govert is your leader with Miguel Duhamel, Curtis Roberts, and Aaron Yates still in contact. A little ways further back, about 2 seconds to Matt Mladen, Ben Bostrom, and Eric Bostrom. They're about 2 seconds behind the leader, and maybe a second or a second and a half behind the last man in the front group. Downstairs once again, Greggy.
While we're in commercial break, Larry Pegram, the only rider out here, or of factory level on Michelin tires. He chunked the rear tire. He had to come in and replace it. He's back out on the racetrack.
And back out, he was in 11th position, and he had been slipping back after leading this race early into turn 1, getting the whole shot. So, Ski, when are we going to see the regular pit stops begin to happen?
The window's between 18 and 23, and of course Daytona has a pace car situation, so guys will try to extend it as far as they can. Some guys will go 23 laps, but 19 is the sweet number.
So every 19 laps or so, they'll be coming in for fuel. They'll change tires while they're at it. Leaders coming up behind number 23, Rich Conacelli on the HSA KWS Suzuki 750, still running a 750 machine, even though the new rules, the first major rule change since Superbikes replaced Formula One here at Daytona that we've had in this class, allowing 1,000cc four-cylinder bikes. There's Conacelli on the 23, and he'll hold his line. Govert has to peel it down inside with Miguel on the same line, so Conacelli knows they're there. And as he moves up high on the banking, they'll come by him one by one. You'll see the horsepower difference between the factory bikes, most of which are 1,000cc machines, except for Eric Bostrom, who is running a 750, but it is a factory Kawasaki that has been tuned to the gills by a very, very competent Kawasaki factory race team. They've got that bike working just exactly like they want, and they had their 800cc engine, which is allowed also by the rules. A 2mm overbore on a 750 turns it into about an 800. But they didn't like that one. In fact, they popped one here. They blew an engine. And back to the 750, tried and true, and that's what he's racing on right now in 7th position.
I went through a lot of development with the Muzzy Raptor, basically the same engine configuration. It seems as though the 790 right in there, when they didn't go and change the stroke of the motorcycle, it was very reliable. Miguel Duhamel just working the draft a little bit off the back of Anthony Govert's bike. He could slingshot past, but he's just pulling out, getting some fresh air into his radiator, making sure that he doesn't overheat the RC51.
He hasn't shown any inclination to go out and lead this race. He did briefly put the nose of the 17 out front, but was quickly repassed. He's just making sure that he's there. And if there's anyone as cagey and crafty as Miguel Duhamel here at Daytona, we don't know who that might be, because he is definitely a factor if he's got a bike that'll go the distance. If he's there at the end, you have to not only not count him out, you have to count him very definitely in as they come up on Akihiro Shigeno from Tokyo, who's made probably the longest trip of any rider to compete in the Daytona 200 by a ride.
Chevy Trucks onboard cam right up the exhaust pipes of Anthony Govert. These guys have found some dancing partners in the top 4. Govert, Duhamel, Roberts, and Yates. Taking a look at Anthony Govert's history at Daytona. Unbelievable. He started here in 1995. He finished 37th. 96, he finished 51st. Then 8th, then 11th, then 43rd, and 3rd in 2002. He's looking to better it today.
That 3rd place was a thrilling finish for Anthony Govert last year on a Yamaha Superbike. Let's go downstairs now. Ralph Shaheen, what do you got?
Well, Brian, we've talked a lot as we get ready for pit stops here about how the fastest pit stops are probably going to make a huge difference here today. And for one race only, these teams will be doing these pit stops and utilizing some quick release components. Let me show you, for example, here on Eric Bostром's bike. This right here, the axle pops right out with the air gun. These are all spring-loaded up here in the forks. They open right up. The wheels just drop right out, slide the next one in. You can kick it in with your knee while the other guy slides the axle back in with the air gun. In fact, they use 3 air guns. It's the same setup here on the back, by the way. And the chain and all stays right together over here on the swing arm, tire in and out. They use 3 air guns. That way, 1 air gun is for putting it on, 1 is for putting it off. You don't even have to worry about getting it confused. And if you take a look over here, you can see the Suzuki team getting ready. They have the big swinging arm extended out over their pit stall. Air guns go right through that. Thousands upon thousands of dollars are spent with this one race only to devise these systems so these teams can make 8.5, 9-second pit stops here today.
Big part of the success of winning here at the Daytona 200 is pit stops. Yes, there's a lot of technology, but mostly there's just a lot of practice. They went by C.R. Gutierrez, the racing critter, on the angling bike number 81. They're coming up on some more traffic. J.J. Retlin, number 940, will bring back a little deja vu for Miguel Duhamel from Elkhart last year. That was the rider that they split around and gave Miguel his first Superbike win last season.
And we have Miguel Duhamel on point. With Gobert, Roberts, Yates, and Bosco. All the riders are getting set up for their first pit stop of the day at Daytona. Like the gentlemen were saying, lap 19 seems to be the key point today for the pit stops, but they could stretch it out to lap 23. It is definitely a two-stop race, and please don't forget, join us on the forum at www.motorstv.co.uk or www.motorstv.com. And like our friends were mentioning in the States, today they've come up with some special rigs for these pit stops. These very quick release change units here for only Daytona. Hold on, we've got Curtis Roberts going through the gas at the chicane. He's going to lose a lot of spots on this one. He's definitely going to drop out of the top 10, but it's a long race, and Curtis certainly can't fight his way back. Curtis Roberts looking to do something that very few people have ever done, winning the 600 Super Sport on Sunday, coming back the next day on Monday. Of course, it never happens, but anyway, coming back for the next race to try and take the Daytona 200. Something his father did a few times. One gentleman known by the name as Kenny Roberts. Kenny Roberts Sr., of course, multi-time world champion, multi-time world championship competitor. He won the Daytona 200 on many occasions. Has his own team now with the Protron, with Jerry McWilliams, the UK representative in the MotoGP Championship. So we're looking for great things from Curtis, but he did have a bit of an off-course excursion. And once again, out at the point, we've got Miguel Duhamel on the Honda. Miguel Duhamel looking to record his 4th Daytona 200 victory. 4 would put him on equal standing with one and only Freddie Spencer, one and only former world 500cc champion. So Duhamel's got a lot on his mind today, looking to set that, equal that record. Scott Russell, of course, the American, holds the all-time record with 5 wins on the Daytona High Bank and Road Course circuit. So as we get set for pit stops, everything's going to play out. We've got Duhamel in front of Gobert. It's a tight battle. It's the Honda, it's the Ducati.
Can we see him on ISO? Or
so we will send it back to the States. Gentlemen, please take over from Daytona.
Back live at Daytona, as we went to that commercial, I was thinking how those adjectives, cagey, might also apply to Curtis Roberts this year. Remember how he went out and burned the tire off the thing last year and ended up finishing 6th? Well, suddenly Curtis has had a problem, and I don't know if it's tire related. He missed the chicane during that commercial, and we wonder whether it was just an error, got in there too hot, or whether he might be starting to slip and slither around a little bit. Bike looks pretty good right there.
He's back up to speed, Dave, but he's 7.6 seconds back off the leader. Cost him quite a bit of time. You see a bike on the left of your screen go flying by. It just looks like he got in there a little bit too hot. Didn't feel comfortable bending it in. Stayed on the brakes, a little short tracking through the grass. But Curtis Roberts back up to speed. Everything's fine with the bike.
Little more to add, Ralph Shaheen?
Well, it's kind of interesting, Brian, as I sat here and watched the replay and listened to Ski. Maybe Ski can comment on this, because the words that Curtis gave to his crew chief were, "I got cut off at the chicane by Gobert." But I don't know, Ski. As I looked at the replay, I didn't see that. Did you?
Gobert just using the draft side by side going in there, and it sometimes just spooks you when the guy's going to be. You do try to stay straight as far as you can while you're on the brakes. And I think Gobert might have spooked Curtis, and Curtis opted to go straight. Good call, Ralph.
Dave McGrath is the crew chief for Curtis Roberts, and to whom he speaks on the two-way radio. You're on board with Miguel Duhamel, watching the leader, Anthony Gobert. Heavy traffic. They've lapped all the way up to about 30th position. And we saw Curtis Roberts coming around J.J. Retland for the second time. Big wiggle coming off, but that's where they do the cross-up wheelies. That's where they get on the gas, and you have to be so delicate with the throttle. Keep the thing pointed in the right direction. Got a rider down on the apron down there, too. Going slow.
A couple more of those, and Duhamel's swinging past up the inside.
Double draft on the lap rider and the leader, Gobert.
A couple more of those snap-out slides like that, and Anthony Gobert's going to be wanting a tire. And they're coming into the window now of opportunity to dive into the pits, but the racing action up front, this is where you can separate yourself from the guys that are diving in early. Get a whole new gang of dancing partners, and it can change the complexion of the race.
Glimpse of the number 70 bike that's being ridden by Pat Mooney, who spent some time here and up at Jennings GP racing in vintage class, riding one of
Gobert going in.
Oh, yep, Gobert's going into the pits.
Anthony Gobert will nail the throttle about 120 miles an hour. No speed limit in this. No speed limit in here.
And watch how fast these guys go to work.
Puts his hand in the air to tell the guys that it's in neutral.
And the Austin
Ben Bostrom going in.
Bostrom going in, so everybody's jumping on it. Now watch the Honda guys go to work. Ralph.
Ben Bostrom is in. You can see he sits back with the riders. Will tell you that one of the keys that they really want to do is get a quick drink of water. That tube comes right down off of the top. It's a Camelback, and he is away. A good stop.
Smokes.
Wow. Picked up a bug somewhere out there, but man, no bugs in the pit stop for the Honda guys. And Ben Bostrom's team, led by crew chief Merlin Plumley, they were the winners of the Daytona 200 by a ride last year with a different rider. The crew itself is pretty much still the same, and man, they went to work, didn't they?
I got it on my wristwatch under 9 seconds. I didn't get an exact time on it. I kind of hit my button a little late, but Ben Bostrom, that's going to help his day out for sure. That was a solid pit stop. Now into the dog leg with the new tires. Really scary on the first time around. You could see he had to feather off the throttle.
Giving credit where credit is due. Merlin Plumley, Mark Braunwelder, Rick Boyles, Davy Jones, and JJ Jim Matter out there doing the honors. Getting ready for the next round of pit stops. A couple more guys are coming in as Bostrom heads back out on the racetrack and is up to speed. So that's going to shuffle the order. Miguel's the leader. He's still out there. Gobert came in. So the next time he comes by, it'll change. We're 18 laps in on the early part of that pit window, Ski.
They have to alter on the two bike teams. You have to maybe take a draw there. Hey, which lap do you want? Which lap will I take? Ben's going for the early one. You can see Miguel on the bumps there on the bank and rear tire dancing around. He's going around again.
Miguel's going to stay out, and that would mean probably Curtis Roberts coming in. So we'll have to keep track of that.
I'm amazed that Miguel feels comfortable there on lap 20.
Curtis Roberts coming in. Ralph is there. Let's go to Ralph.
This is how it was scheduled. Curtis is supposed to be next. Miguel will be last. Now watch Chris Vandevaart. He's the man with the gas. You'll notice he even has a towel taped to his shoulder, ready to go. Here's Curtis into his spots. Curtis reaches for the Camelback. Chris drops the fuel and the rear tire is off. There goes the front. Remember, 3 air guns. One puts the axles out, one puts them in. Now Curtis is looking down off to the right. Problems with the front tire. This is what we talked about. That's what could kill you from winning today right here.
Well, he didn't lose any more time in the pit than he did going off in the chicane, so we'll score 1 for Curtis and 1, and there's Matt Mladen. So the Yoshimura Suzuki guys going to work on Mladen's number 66 machine. Reg O'Rourke on the front, Peter Doyle on the back. Hans Lasky, who normally drives the truck, calls himself the senior transportation engineer. He's the big guy with a fuel can, and Matt Mladen's back out on the racetrack.
Pretty solid stop for Matt Mladen. I wonder what Miguel Duhamel's thinking. Is that radio still working?
Well, he's been riding around in the draft for quite a while. He only led towards the end. Maybe his fuel mileage is up a little bit from everybody else because he was just poking around in the draft on the banking, and that's got to help your fuel mileage quite a bit as he comes up on the number 12 of Ricky Orlando, Colorado Power Sports, and he's a rider out of that's got a lot of experience here.
Watching Miguel's rear tire out of the chicane, things hooked up, looks great. When I won the 200 in 1990, I went from the second stop all the way to the finish. I didn't opt for a rear tire on the second go around.
Miguel signaling that he's coming in. Orlando's following him in as well.
Those days are well over, though.
Yeah.
200-mile-an-hour motorcycles, you need tires. Here we go. Yeah, no NASCAR speed limits on the pit road today. Miguel rips it in about 100 miles an hour. It comes down on the mark.
These guys will go to work. Only 4 men over the wall. That's what they're allowed. You can see that those 4 men are working on the bike, and they include Al Ludington, the crew chief, Woody, Jason Lovin, and Yuji Kikuchi, Sean Renfro helping him out this week, too. And we're also in with Aaron Yates.
Under 8 seconds for Miguel.
Unbelievable time. There's Moma, the guy with the big hair. And out goes Aaron Yates. The crew guys work just as hard and train and practice just as much as the riders do for these pit stops. The only race on the circuit where there are pit stops. A couple of years ago at VIR, they ran a pit stop race, but not last season, so Daytona remains the only one long enough to require pit stops. There's Ben Speeds. Let's go to Greg.
These guys just did a pit stop for Aaron Yates, so they're doing double duty, what everybody else is doing. Little problem with the rear tire there. They got in, he's still up on the stand, and Speeds is on his way. This Yoshimura crew working really hard to get that one out.
No rest for the weary there. Tom Houseworth with the fuel can, and those guys had to do 2 in a row, just half a minute apart. So the order is completely shuffled now as scoring will have to catch up with all the changes in the running order out there. that riders that have stayed out, riders that came in a little bit earlier are going to be moving up the standings. And you'll see them running across the top. Things will be a little bit different next time. Matt Mladen in and out, shown in 10th spot. Brian Livengood, who had an 8th place finish here last year. Larry Pegram still out there. Jeff May, one of the real up-and-coming young talents in the Superbike field. Jordan Zoke is back with us again this year. Jason Pridmore. Let's see, and Bitter, number 302, is Xander Bitter from Hungary. He has come here to ride a Kerry Andrew tuned machine in the Daytona 200. He's got a whole camera crew with him. Apparently he's something of a national hero, and they're going to bring a whole film presentation back to Hungary, and everybody in his native country will be glued to the TV sets when they get that video back home.
Really, really interesting, folks. But now that all the pit stops are over, the first round of them anyway.
So Miguel Duhamel back out on the racetrack. He is still your leader. He stayed out late, came in late. He's still up front.
Motorcycle racing on Motors.
14, Brian Livengood, who we had just spoken of, had finished 8th here last year, 9th in the U.S. Superbike Championship final points. And here is what happened. Take a look.
A wild crash. He comes into the screen already sideways, as if there was oil on the racetrack, Brian, but there isn't. Everybody else is railing through there, but something really letting go there. Maybe two. Good thing is he's up. I can't say he's all right, but he's.
Yeah. Well, but
right.
he went
away from that one.
Yeah, he went down on a low side. Now this track takes its toll on your body, Ski, but that's not the way that you want it to do some damage to you right there.
Now you watch this race up front. Miguel Duhamel, he wears an extra chest pad for your sternum bone, so he can get tucked in on that gas tank. But having to stay tucked in. Battle for third right now with Eric Bostrom, and is that Aaron Yates?
Yes, Aaron Yates. Two Hondas up front, then a Kawasaki and Suzuki going after it for third. And Curtis Roberts, who actually helped himself somewhat by the sequence of pit stops, went from 7th on the racetrack to 5th after the stop.
Yeah, he's still sitting pretty good there. Kawasaki onboard cam out the back of Eric Bostrom's ZX7 Kawasaki. We'll hear some RPM. Shot just showing you just how bumpy the banking is. It's those bumps, it gets that sternum bone. You try to stay tucked in. You have to keep your eyes up at the top of your helmet. Some guys have their helmets adjusted so they rock back on their head a little bit better, get a little bit more vision out the eye port of the helmet. I tell you, after 57 laps, Boston's wide going in. It's going to cost him a position.
Yates comes around back to the helmet issue, watching Bruce Porter down there in the Arai building, adjusting helmets all weekend long and putting an extra pad below that bone in the back of your head to keep the helmet from tipping forward with the wind at nearly 200 miles an hour here. So a lot of technology going into play for what could be considered the most important part of the whole motorcycle. That's the part you see out of.
Yeah, I mean, after a while, you can't even keep your neck up there. Your neck just starts to feel like you got hot irons on the back of it. Bostrom kind of laying over on the side of his face and looking out. Give your neck a little break.
More on the subject, Ralph Shaheen.
Well, you know, Brian, talking about the helmets, too, that's something that the riders spend a lot of time with. I had dinner with Bruce Porter just last night. He said on an average Daytona 200 week, I'll spend as much as I'll touch as many as 400 helmets over the course of the week. Now, obviously, some of those helmets are coming back 2 or 3 times, but that's about 100 helmets a day that the Arai technicians are in there making adjustments to. Ski, I'm sure you made numerous trips in and out of those buildings.
Oh, yeah, you got to have it. You got to have new shields all the time. Vision is so important in this sport. And, of course, comfort. And if there's anything bothering you on the racetrack, it takes away from your ability to concentrate at 200 miles an hour, and that's not a good thing.
And as if you needed another upside, it's also one of the most pleasant places to just kind of hang out for a little while in there because of the constant shuffling in and out. Number 97, Scott Carpenter on a Ron Ayers Racing machine and Pirelli tires. We haven't really touched a lot on the tire war. We mentioned that Anthony Gobert, the only rider on the major factory on Michelin's. There are a load of riders out there on Pirelli, some of them running up well into the top 15 right now, and top 20. So a tire war beginning to develop here because of the importance of the U.S. market to all of the manufacturers.
And what they have all learned at Daytona is definitely working its way onto the shelves at your dealer. And this racetrack, there's no racetrack in the world that punishes tires like Daytona. But again, how racing improves the breed for the public. Today, so far, so good for this man and his tire management issues.
working lap 24 of 57. So we're well short of the halfway mark right now. The leaders have lapped lapped well into the top 15 or 20 now.
We'll see if Miguel will take this second tire to lap 40, even him out at 20. But he'll have a window of opportunity there to plus or minus one or two laps.
So here at the Daytona 200, we're still racing short of halfway. Come on back.
So as we approach halfway, the Daytona 200 is once again the Canadian Miguel Duhamel who's out on point. Ben Bostrom looking very strong. Very, very strong for Ben on a great pit stop. Funny to see these pit stops for the Superbikes. They don't pit all the way through their season except here at Daytona. Daytona, the most important race of their season. It's kind of their league final before the season actually starts. But pretty amazing to see them do the work in 8 or 9 seconds. Kind of reminds you of some of those boys in Formula One that I don't know if you had a chance to see the Australian Grand Prix, but I saw it. And I think these boys could teach some of those lads a few tricks or two. Great scene, great shots with the water bag that descends, the rider getting a drink of water while the gas man puts the fuel in. Quick change on the front tire, and he's off again in 8 or 9 seconds. So, Duhamel looking for his 4th career victory at the Daytona 200. With Ben Bostrom not too far off his pace. Aaron Yates still up there in 3rd. His brother, the brother Bostrom, Eric in 4th, with Curtis Roberts, Matt Mladen, and Spies rounding out the top group. After that pit stop, trying to shuffle through the lap traffic, trying to get everything sorted out. The leaders are finally all back together, and we're in for some more wheel-to-wheel racing here at Daytona. And don't forget, the Motors TV will be bringing you 1-hour highlight shows of every single round of the AMA Superbike Championship this year. We have a rider off. We have a rider off in the infield section. No, we don't. They made a mistake. I'm terribly sorry. But anyway, this year, we'll be bringing you the races from Fontana, from Infineon Speedway, formerly known as Sears Point, Road Atlanta in Georgia, Pikes Peak in Colorado. The one and only Road America Elkhart Lake Circuit, the best, finest road circuit in America. The Superbikes will be at Brainerd, Laguna Seca, Mid-Ohio, Virginia International Raceway, and Barber Motorsport Park. The entire season, the AMA Superbike Championship will be brought to you in highlight form in 52-minute to 1-hour programs, each and every round on Motors TV. And don't forget, drop us a line on www.motorstv.com. We'd like to hear from you. What do you think about the race? Who's going to win today? So as we send you back to our American broadcasters, enjoy the race.
Welcome back to the Daytona 200 by a ride. 2 quick things. Anthony Gobert is on Dunlops, and Anthony Gobert is apparently out of the race. He has just simply disappeared. It's Larry Pegram riding Michelin's who's still out there. And Anthony Gobert on the number 16 Ducati is out. Your leader is Miguel Duhamel by 4 seconds over Ben Bostrom, his teammate. 3rd is Aaron Yates, some 3 seconds further back, racing with Eric Bostrom for 3rd. Miguel, the Daytona Master, a 9-time winner here, 6 times in Super Sport, 3 times in Superbike, and the only man still racing that has won both the 600 and Superbike races on the same weekend.
Taking a look inside the top 10, the 34 rider, Michael Barnes, cutting 153.1 lap times.
Top privateer, Barney at 8. Sean Higby also out there. And on HSA KWS bike, running at 9th position. Larry Pegram 10th. Woody Dethridge, who was the top privateer finisher here last year in 7th place, is now 12th. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen. Ralph.
Well, Brian, I'm not really sure why you're throwing down to me. Maybe it's Greg White you're searching for.
Throw it down to me. I got Anthony Gobert down here. Anthony, what happened?
Unfortunately, our number 1 bike, the front brake broke on the start line. One of the guys accidentally bumped it and broke the pin, and I had to start on the backup bike. And as soon as we went out, it had a big misfire, and I was like, for sure it was going to stop. And then it kind of started to become good. It didn't really have any power. I had lost a lot of power, but it was still going. That was the main thing. And then next minute I caught the guys again. I passed them, and I thought, we're going to win pretty easy. I was doing it really super comfortable, and just tiptoeing around really, and then next minute I got a fresh tire, and I was all right, I'll just take it easy. And then next minute the engine stopped, and I went into one of the corners, and when I decelerated, then it just didn't pick back up and started smoking a bit. So that was a shame, because it was our backup bike, it was our backup bike, and I think because I was, revving so hard when it wasn't, I think, warmed up, maybe that's the reason why it stopped. So just one of those things, but it's a shame because I think we would have given Ducati their first win here because I was doing it easy and I come from a long way back, even with the engine being slow. So, it was a real disappointment.
Well, now kind of a point steps going into the season, but you like being the underdog, don't you?
Well, I always am. I don't really like it, but I always am. I don't have any choice. Every time I come here, no matter what bike or whatever, seem to have a bike trouble or a tyre problem. So it's always something here, but it kind of got me a bit fired up now. So I go back and train a bit harder and come back to the next one. Fontana was my track last year, so hopefully we can make it our track with Ducati. And I just want to thank all the guys as well from Ducati Austin and all the guys from the factory. They come over to give us a lot of support. And everyone, Parts Unlimited and Motor Oils and Suomi, Alpine Star, everyone's got behind me. I want to thank everyone for the support.
All right, well, that's the story down here in the pits from Anthony Gobert. Back up to Brian and Ski.
All right, Miguel Duhamel stepped out through the tri-oval going into turn number 1. Is your leader, still about 4 seconds ahead of teammate Ben Bostrom, with Anthony Gobert, who we just heard say he was leading comfortably, and the Ducati curse continues here at the Daytona 200.
There's a good look at Michael Barnes. 8th place runner here right now. Sometimes steady as she goes is the motto at Daytona.
Well, Barney won some races here in the weekend prior to the Daytona 200. Came out here and won in the Formula USA Superbike race. So he's had some experience and has really weathered all the weather, which it started raining here more than a week ago and has rained every day except for 2 since last Thursday when Mike Barnes got here. So he's been camped out and almost literally camped out in the wet, and probably just got his socks dried out this morning, so he's feeling good out there running 8 top privateer.
Prieto Racing GSXR 1000. Michael Barnes, we'll be talking about him in a few years. He'll be breaking Rick Shaw's mileage record at Daytona.
Comes here every year, does well every year. Mike Barnes out there doing it again. Last year finished 25th, a lap, 5 laps down from the leader, but again, he's one of those guys that has very little crew help, doesn't really go through the whole tire change, refuel, stop sequence like the factory riders. He just soldiers around out there as best he can, nursing his equipment all the way to the finish line, and somehow he always appears.
Miguel Duhamel having some fun. Right about in the middle of his tire life this time around.
Well, the leaders have kind of spread out a little bit here, but we've got another round of pit stops that's looming in the near distance. Stay with us, won't you?
And who brings you all the coverage every single lap from the Daytona 200? It's Motors TV, of course. Well, once again, drop us a line on the Motors TV internet site, motorstv.com. We've been getting a ton of emails. We'd like to answer a few, but the action's so good from Daytona that we really can't afford to take the time out to interrupt our American broadcasters. So, a recap. As we get halfway through the Daytona 200, we have Miguel Duhamel, the Canadian, the 6-time 600 SS, the 5-time 600 SS champion. He also won the AMA Superbike Championship back in 1995. 3-time Daytona 200 winner. He's well out in front. Ben Bostrom second, Aaron Yates, Eric Rossman fourth, Curtis Roberts fifth, Matt Mladen, Doug Spies, Mike Barnes,
he's getting ready to
and
come
Ryder
in.
Zuski, top 10 from Daytona. Well, it looks like Duhamel's having no worries whatsoever on that Honda. He's well out in front of Ben Bostrom as well on the Honda. Will one of these gentlemen do the feat that Nicky Hayden did last year by winning the Daytona 200 and then setting his season strong, going on to win the championship? His prize for winning the AMA Superbike Championship? A seat in the same team as one and only Valentino Rossi. Will Nicky Hayden be able to deal with all the pressure that goes along with being the teammate to the world champion MotoGP rider? Only time will tell.
Okay.
Do these riders have what it takes to win the AMA Superbike Championship? Absolutely. So, Daytona, Miguel Duhamel, Ben Bostrom, Aaron Yates, Eric Bostrom, Curtis Roberts. Who will win? Why don't you let us know? Drop us a line. Who's going to win this race? Who's going to dominate the second half of the race? Let us know at motorstv.com. We're here. We're waiting. We'll definitely get back to your answers. We do have a lot of mail, so please forgive us if it takes time. But we will send you back to the warm confines of Daytona, Florida. Summer break, blue skies, white sand, warm ocean water, and 200 miles of bike racing. Back to our friends at Speed Channel in America. Back to you, gentlemen.
We got a crash just as we come back to the Daytona 200 by O'Reilly.
Looks like James Randolph there tossing it down into the turn 1 area, waving yellow flag out there, so there won't be any passing going on.
No, it's the number 70 of Pat Mooney, the rider who I mentioned has been racing in vintage competition on a Norton all weekend.
Sorry about that, James, but Pat Mooney getting up okay. We're having a heck of a time IDing guys today, huh, Brian?
I'll tell you, there's a lot of them out there. 79 riders scheduled to start. About 65 actually did, so Pat Mooney walks away uninjured. He had a pretty high-speed get-off over there in the kink in practice earlier this week and managed to walk away from that one as well. So for Pat Mooney, he's been on the ground here a couple of times riding modern equipment after racing around on a Norton in the earlier part of the week, both here and up at Jennings GP last Thursday and Friday. Miguel Duhamel, the leader, working through traffic on lap number 30, past halfway now, and approaching the second round of pit stops in 8 or 9, maybe 10 more laps, although Miguel stayed out there quite a while, and he could have 2 long runs with a short one to the checkered flag and fresher tires. Pretty good strategy scheme.
Yeah, it may pay off for him, but you know, nobody runs Daytona like Honda. Right now, grabbing the top 2 spots. 4 seconds back to Ben Bostrom. Guys are cutting 151 lap times. Ralph Shaheen, what do you got for us?
Well, an update for you on Matt Mladen. I just talked to the crew at the Yoshimura Suzuki camp, and they're saying that he had worked through a little bit too much on that last tire. They didn't like the way it wore, so they're going to go through this stint, see how things are, and then push him hard to the finish.
All right, so a tire in the middle segment is not to their liking. There is Matt Mladen running minute 53-second laps. He's in 6th position and about 50 seconds roughly behind the leader Miguel Duhamel as he comes across the line. Here shortly we'll get an exact accurate time on him. You can see the running order at the top of the screen. A number of riders are out, some by crash, some by mechanical difficulty, the most recent being number 70 Pat Mooney out of Sorrento, Florida, on the Sun State Fun Sports machine that he put into the air fence and walked away. There's Ben Spies on the number 11 bike, just behind, or that's just behind Matt Mladen as they both split around the number 155.
Spies holding down the 7th spot, his first Daytona 200. But Matt Mladen tire thing is kind of what I talked about earlier. Sometimes these tires respond differently depending on how much abuse you subject them to in the early laps of the tire life. Sometimes they just go off and they're horrible. It could be the same compound, same size, it just acts different.
So 2 Suzuki teammates running together. And Spies has gone around Matt Mladen now, so while Mladen is nursing that tire around the finish, Spies goes by him and they swap spots. Spies then up to 6, Mladen 7.
Quick look at Jason Pridmore on the 43. Pridmore listed in 13th position.
Let's go down to Greg White with an update on Pridmore.
Well, like I said, Jason Pridmore was hoping to get on the podium. Unfortunately, his exhaust system cracked early. That's why he pulled into the pits. His team's very disappointed, but Jason's at least out there on the racetrack, and he's trying to make the most of the situation. Brian?
Pridmore running at 13th position on the number 43 machine. Just behind Jack Pfeiffer on the 77, who we got a glimpse of a little while ago. Jack Pfeiffer out of Las Vegas, Nevada, running very well in 12th place right now, just behind Woody Dethridge and just ahead of Jason Pridmore. Miguel Duhamel, 31 laps down. Lap number 32 is what he's working with a 4.5-second lead over Aaron Yates.
He's starting to skip that RC41 around in the infield. Tire busted loose on him. He's having to work some different lines around the lap traffic. Dean Misdahl, next rider to fall prey to Miguel Duhamel.
Very experienced pro. Misdahl will hear that big V-twin coming and slide out of the way. Says, I can't race with you. Now they come up behind the 225. Oliver Jervis, Canadian rider on a Zlock racing machine, Suzuki 1000. A lot of the privateers have gone to 1000cc 4-cylinder bikes, and some have stuck with the tried and true 750s.
Daytona, you don't want anything but 1000. Trying to chase around these factory bikes. The privateer guys using the slow and steady approach. Miguel Duhamel, the veteran, pulling out all the tricks at Daytona. He managed his first tire really good. It's given him the tremendous advantage that he has right now of 4.5 seconds.
Coming up on Dean Osborne. Number 190 there on a McBride cycle, also a Suzuki 1000. Miguel all alone and in control here by 4.5 seconds at Daytona, coming up on the second round of pit stops again very shortly. Things could shuffle.
He might be heading a little low there on the bank, and Miguel Duhamel found himself a smooth line. He's going for the smooth line rather than the high line. Trying to use the banking as a hill to pick up his RPM, but look at that thing bust out. Yeah. He just keeps it pinned.
What does that feel like at a buck 60, 70, or 80?
I mean, it's just a conditioned response, but I'll tell you what, the first couple times it happens to you, it is quite scary. There's a word for it, but I can't say it on TV.
Okay, well, when we're off the air, you'll share that with me, David Sadowski. I appreciate it. 1990 Daytona winner here, and my broadcast partner. I'm Brian Drever. Glad to have you along with Greg White. Dave Despain is up in the Hollywood Hotel studio. Ralph Shaheen down on pit road with Greg, and we're really having a good time here today. Finally in the sunshine at Daytona after a week of rain. Record-setting precipitation here in sunny Florida.
Jordan Zoke trying to stay with Miguel Duhamel. Zoke having a great run on the number 101 bike, back in 9th position.
That's a Corona Extra Suzuki GSXR 1000 under Jordan Zoke, who was figured heavily into the finish of the Super Stock race coming up a little bit later on today. Also live on Speed. Genuine Suzuki Accessory 750 Super Stock race will follow the Daytona 200. Yates within 2 seconds of Miguel Duhamel right now, and Curtis Roberts is really flying. He's up to 4th, and he's now only 4 seconds back. So we've got a race developing here as Duhamel is not really slowed down, but the other guy, Miguel's doing 153s. Yates and Bostrom are doing 50, 51. Curtis Roberts also doing a 1:50 lap, so they have reeled in the leader, Miguel Duhamel, now on pure lap speed. So Miguel slowing down a little bit. The other guy's holding pace and picking it up actually a little bit. So as Miguel continues to circulate and we approach the second round of pit stops, things are starting to tighten up.
And as they said on our Speed Channel colleagues, yes, Miguel Duhamel is in charge of the race. We have 34 laps down. We've got 23 to go. However, Yates and the Bostrom boys are definitely making inroads. Roberts as well. In fact, the top 5 are only separated by about 7 seconds. Interesting to note, of the 65 starters, only 8 riders. That's 8 riders are still on the lead lap. Can Duhamel hold on? Let us know at www.motorstv.co.uk or .com, if you will. Let us know what you think of Duhamel. Will he get a 4th win? Will he tie Freddie Spencer's record? Who knows? But Aaron Yates isn't so sure if Miguel's going to do it today. Aaron Yates is definitely pulling him in with the Bostrom boys, and of course Curtis Roberts. Curtis Roberts looking to do the double after winning the 600 SS class yesterday. He's looking to become the only rider to ever won both events on 2 different days, back-to-back on the same weekend at Daytona. So we're in for a very, very interesting last 22, 23 laps of the race. As they did mention, our good friends in the States, pit stops are coming into play. They will be taking place in the next 5 to 6 laps or so. Could be all won or lost on pit lane today at Daytona. One interesting thing to note, did you check out the speeds as they enter the Daytona pit lane? There is no speed limit. This isn't Formula One. This isn't open wheel racing from the States, stock car racing, or if you will, where there's a restricted speed limit. If you break that rule, you come back in through the pits. In AMA Superbike racing, you go for it, whether you're on the pit lane or on the racetrack. It's balls to the walls, flat out action on Motors TV. So enjoy the rest of the race. We're certainly enjoying it. Miguel Duhamel definitely has a contender on his back fairing. It's Aaron Yates with Bostrom leading 3rd. Here we are with the leader out in front. A clean racetrack. No worries. No lap riders. As he does come around, and it looks like Yates is pulling. We've got some interesting battles up at the fronts. Yes, Yates is passed as Bostrom. So, as the race definitely heats up, we'll send you back to Speed and our boys at Daytona. Enjoy the race.
We told you they were coming. They have come and went. Aaron Yates and Ben Bostrom have both passed Miguel Duhamel for the lead, and Curtis Roberts is right behind him now. So we've got a 4-bike race for the win here at the Daytona 200 by Rye.
Something very strange going on with Miguel Duhamel. I can't figure it out, but I saw him do something into the chicane on the last lap. Brian, he just took his hand off the handlebar and he used the palm of his hand to actually steer the motorcycle in there. I don't know if he has a cramp going on in his hand, or he wears these protectors for calluses. but something weird's going on.
So Miguel Duhamel, we will continue to chase it. We mentioned that his lap times had slowed down. Perhaps he has a little bit of a problem with his hand. We're still checking on that. But in any case, Miguel has gone back to third and is in danger of losing that spot because Curtis Roberts is right there. So 3 Hondas and a Suzuki up front right now with Eric Bostrom on his Kawasaki running 5th. There's Miguel. We'll continue to watch him. And there is Aaron Yates, your leader, who is actually pulling away just a little bit. He's got a lap rider behind him now, Brett Ray. An R&R Racing Suzuki 750. Ray's going to go down another lap, and Aaron Yates used the lap rider and a sneak attack to open up that margin right there. Look how far Aaron Yates is out in front.
Brian, I mentioned in the Speed TV column that I'm writing now that this year is going to be the best year ever for Aaron Yates because of the 1,000 inline 4-cylinders are going to help bigger guys out in their battle against the smaller factory guys.
Roberts into second behind, ahead of Ben Bostrom now. So the 3 Hondas are piled up in second, third, and fourth with Aaron Yates on a Suzuki leading the Daytona 200.
It has tightened up. We got a battle on our hands into the horseshoe.
You're on board with Miguel. The one thing that Miguel has working for him is that he pitted a lot later, so he can afford to stay out there for track position. We'd start talking about it like NASCAR. Or if he's got a problem, he'll want to go in a little early. So the pit stop strategy will soon show itself as we are beginning to get to that second pit window. Curtis Roberts third, Miguel fourth.
It's very strange trying to figure out why Miguel had lost so much time. I know he's battling with some lap traffic, but now that the guys have come around, he's digging down deep and keeping right in there. Chevy Trucks onboard camera bringing you the high banks. That's how bumpy it is up there.
That's Miguel. The Honda onboard is Ben Bostrom. Aaron Yates is your leader with Curtis Roberts has now taken up the mantle for the Honda squad with on his Arian Honda Racing number 80. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, I'm down here with Al Ludington, who is the crew chief for Miguel Duhamel, making some final calculations on this thing. Al, do you have any idea why Miguel is slipping back?
I'm sure his tires go, and he's about ready to come in for a pit stop, but he's just resting it. It all comes down to the last 10, 12 laps. Miguel's been here a lot of times, taking a little break, getting a little charge up for the end of the race.
Don't forget, guys, he is sick. He told me before the start of the race he's at about 80%. I also asked Al if he knew any reason about why he might be shifting the way that you guys had noticed. He said no, it could just have something to do with him, again, relaxing his body. And Ski, you would know more about that having contested this race yourself.
3 Hondas racing nose to tail behind the Suzuki for the lead, coming up on traffic. And when Freddie Spencer shared the booth with me on occasions, he always said he divided the race into thirds. This one is naturally divided that way by the pit stop. First third, you make your push, see if you can get away. Middle third, you relax, see what you can do, see what you got, manage your assets, and go for the final third of the race. That could be what Miguel is doing because Freddie Spencer has been trackside all week long working with Curtis, Freddie, and Ben Bostrom.
He just decided to relax in a hurry. You know, he had a 4-second lead, and these guys whittled it down. Now we got a race on our hands.
Big time race with Curtis Roberts leading the Honda assault on Aaron Yates as he comes up behind the number 12 of Ricky Orlando again. We're going to take another commercial break, but don't worry, we'll be watching this battle awful closely for you. Lead swapping between Curtis Roberts and Aaron Yates. Roberts has drafted past Yates twice. Yates caught him back in the infield with some wild riding. And right now it is Curtis Roberts out in front. Winner of the 600 race earlier this weekend. Look at Yates way up high. Roberts down low is coming into the pits.
Curtis going in for tires. Ben Bostrom already in for another fresh set of Dunlops. These guys were having a tire smoking battle. They finished them off before they came into pits. Aaron Yates is still out there smoking the tire.
And having some fun. Curtis Roberts hits his Arian pits and Ralph Shaheen is there.
Look at there goes 40 pounds worth of fuel picked up and dropped right in about 7.4 gallons. And remember, they had trouble with the front here the last time with Curtis. This time it goes much smoother, much better pit stop for Curtis Roberts this time. He made up a tremendous amount of time on the racetrack, and the team did not let him down this time on pit lane.
Ralph, that's exactly what Curtis Roberts needed to make up for a couple of different errors that he had, one in the chicane, but that's a great pit stop for him. have to keep our eyes on this man, see how far he's going to put mileage on his tires. Watch the rear tire here coming off the horseshoe.
Here it's
Open it up.
Aaron Yates running minute 52.9 last time. That's not an extraordinary lap time, except considering that we're on lap 39. So we're 18 laps from the finish of this one, and the tire that they have is going to be the one they're going to go to the finish with once they start out.
You want to learn how to ride at Daytona? Let's go to school here with Aaron Yates. Look at that thing dancing around. You watch him up on the bowl. He's fighting with Curtis Roberts. Muscling that baby over the bumps. The tire starts oscillating. He's got to get out of it, get back in it. Curtis Roberts takes advantage of the situation. Out onto the bowl, black strip being laid down all the way. The rear tire just protesting everything Aaron Yates is throwing into it. He just keeps it pinned and rides it out.
If there's a man better at riding a cooked tire, I mean with forks sticking out of it, than Aaron Yates, I want to know who it is. He's coming into pit now. He's had enough of that one. He's going to put one on that's going to take him to the line. Yates, your leader, coming into pit. Watch the Yoshimura Suzuki guys go to work, and Greg White is there. Greggy.
Here comes Aaron Yates, the race leader. He comes into the pits. He carries good speed. The Yoshimura crew is on it. They pump the fuel in. Yates takes a little bit of a drink. He looks awfully confident right now. The front tire's on, the rear axle's in, and there they go. He's got to get the stand, and there go. All right, Ralph Shaheen, what do you got?
Rick Boyle doing a great job on the axles for Miguel, and another good pit stop for Miguel. This one about 11 seconds for Miguel, but it was very solid. He had problems with the tire warmers down here, guys, and this might be something to keep an eye on, because the tires that they planned on putting on this stint, they were struggling to get them up to temperature that they wanted. The crew had been shuffling around down here into the Honda tent, getting the tires right where they wanted them.
Eric Bostrom goes back out on sticker tires as well, so the order will perhaps shuffle as we see Aaron Yates now come out behind Curtis Roberts and Ben Bostrom on the racetrack.
This could be an exciting event, man.
Oh, man.
Last 18 laps.
And they're all right together. All of the leaders are within striking distance of one another for this final 17 laps. There's Curtis Roberts. There's Ben Bostrom. There's Aaron Yates, nose to tail, and right behind them are the rest. So, get set for a really exciting finish as the Attack Suzuki guys change tires and put fuel in Jason Bridmore's bike.
And like they were saying, we've got 18 laps to go, and it's going to be a dogfight between Aaron Yates, Miguel Duhamel, Eric Bostrom, and Curtis Roberts, with Ben Bostrom still in it. We've got the Suzukis, we've got the Hondas, we've got the Kawasaki's. It's anyone's bet for the win for the Daytona 200. Me personally, I like Aaron Yates. But Miguel Duhamel has been strong all day. Curtis Roberts definitely looking for the double. Then please let us know at www.motorstv.co.uk or www.motorstv.com. Let us know who's going to win the famous Daytona 200 from Daytona, Florida. The track known for stock car racing, for 24 hours of endurance racing, and of course, Bike Week, headlined by the Daytona 200 Superbike race. So here we have the battle out front. We've got Roberts. We've got Ben Bostrom. We've got Aaron Yates. We've got about 17 laps to go. It's about 50 miles to you and me. Who's going to pull it out? Well, sit back and enjoy the show. I know I am. So anyway, can Matt Mladen pick up the pace? He's been outpaced by his teammate Doug Spies on the Suzukis. We've got Ben Bostrom on the Honda.
Whoa.
And we're having a little bit of noise from our American friends. Apparently they didn't realize they were still on the air. But of course at Motors TV, we're always on the air. We're here to bring you flag-to-flag coverage. Not a lap to be missed on Motors TV. And don't forget that we're bringing you the 1-hour highlight shows for every AMA Superbike round this year. From California at Fontana and Sears Point, to Elkhart Lake in the Midwest, to Brainerd, to Virginia on the East Coast, to the Barbary Motorsport Park, a brand new circuit. We're here to bring you all the action for the American Motorcycle Association Superbike Championship. And here we have still the battle at the front. We've got Yates with Bostrom, with Duhamel. Will it be a Honda? Will it be a Suzuki? Will it be a Kawasaki? It's anyone's guess. As they approach the high banks from Daytona. And here we have it once again. We've got Duhamel and Yates. And we're about to send it back to our friends in the States, to Dave and Brian. And of course, the one and only, the legendary Dave Despain. We'll send it back to you, gentlemen. It's Speed Channel.
Curtis Roberts is your leader by less than 2 seconds over Ben, who's less than a second ahead of Aaron Yates, who's a couple of seconds ahead of Miguel Duhamel, and we have 16 laps to go in this race. You don't think this one's going to get good? Just hang on to your seats. Scooch a little bit forward, get up behind the bubble, and get ready for a big finish here at Daytona. It's coming right now, I'll tell you that. There's Aaron Yates, just behind Ben. And Yates is having fun out there. He's been sliding around, wheeling that big Suzuki all over the racetrack. He's got to be thinking, Ski, I can win this thing.
All these guys right now have that thought, Brian. This is going to be one of the closest in the top 5 group that I've seen in a long time to Daytona 200.
There's Ben, there's Aaron.
Set to keep our stopwatches going here to see what these guys are able to cut on after the 4 or 5 laps on these new fresh tires. See what they're going to level out at, see who's got the good tire and see who's got the one that's acting weird.
Australian Warwick Nolan going another lap down to the leaders after they've cycled through the pit stops, and all of them have. Across the top it screens the running order. You can see where everybody's running. Hope you see the name of your favorite rider. As Curtis Roberts leads Ben Bostrom. Miguel Duhamel moves into third around Aaron Yates, and that, we're not sure what went on, but Yates seems to be slowing a little bit. Look at Aaron Yates slowing down. We're understanding that orders from Yoshimura Suzuki are to tone it down a little bit, save those tires. We've still got 15 laps to go.
Well, all you got to do right now is we're going to make a procession out of it, get to the lead group. Curtis Roberts up there right now, and Ben Brostrom's doing a great job to get him in, get in the draft. He's just too far back right now to take advantage of the draft. Curtis Roberts, he could decide right now that, hey, I've got enough tire. I might try to pull a disappearing act. Miguel Duhamel cranking out a 50 right there, 1 minute 50.
49.7 on his, that's his best lap, his most recent a 50.
50.053.
Compared to 51s for the guys ahead of him. So Miguel's back on the drive, and we overheard Al Ludington tell Miguel Duhamel, you're sitting beautiful.
Man, you gotta love it when your crew chief tells you that.
And you've heard Al tell you that, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
All right.
Not by radio, though.
Nope.
That's pretty cool that these guys can tell the pit guys exactly what's going on the motorcycle. In through the kink here, right by the Armco barrier. Down into the International Horseshoe. You want to get your knee actually right through the dirt on the inside here. Real good traction in there. There you go. Good line, Aaron. Look at that. Inline 4-cylinder. Drive a V-twin off the turn. That's what the GSXR 750 was lacking in seasons past. Now with the new rule change, definitely a level playing field amongst the top factory bikes driving off the turn now.
And that's why the Yoshimura Suzuki guys have been smiling all week out here, because they think they've got something competitive. Don Sakakura and his crew. Aaron Yates guys headed up by Chris Weidel doing the business out here at Daytona right now, running third at the moment.
Out of turn 6 here, you get the rear end dancing around. You hit the seam of the banking right as you have to make your third gear shift. Start watching the tachometer here. Let it sing soprano and hit every gear just perfect. Drive down the bank right now. Get down low. Dave Despain, what do you got?
Well, I wanted to continue making a point that I tried to make earlier, and then Curtis ran off the racetrack and sort of spoiled the point, but in the end I think reinforces the point, and the point is this. What about this guy's tire management? Remember last year when he ran the tire off the thing and lost the race to Nicky Hayden? He's gone out conservatively. He's stuck in 4th place through the first session, ran off the racetrack. He said he was run off the racetrack, came back, and not only gained back about 10 seconds on the leaders, but kept the tire healthy doing it. Now has a fresh tire and the lead. I think this is a very, very different Curtis Roberts than we saw here last year, and he looks tough to beat.
Well, he's out in front right now with the lead, and laps winding down at the Daytona 200. Can Curtis Roberts do the double here today, as teammate Miguel Duhamel did a few years back? That's going to be an interesting question, and it would be a truly historic occasion on a day and a year filled with history here at Daytona already. So we'll continue to watch this race as Curtis Roberts leads, works his way through some more traffic up in front, and tries to hold off his teammates and Aaron Yates.
And will Curtis Roberts do the double? Will he repeat his performance from the 600 Superbike Series? Only time will tell, but he's got Ben Bostrom hunting him down. Aaron Yates is still in it. Don't forget Eric Bostrom, he's still around. And the Suzuki boys, Doug Spice and Matthew Mladen. But it looks like Curtis Roberts the son of the legend, the brother of the former world champion. He looks like he's on his way to a Daytona 200 victory. Yes, we're riding aboard with Miguel Duhamel. And join us on the forum at www.motorstv.co.uk or www.motorstv.com. We're here to answer all your mail. We've been getting quite a few messages. We don't have too much time to answer them all, but we'll certainly do our best. Anyway, on the backstretch with Miguel Duhamel as he comes into the chicane. Heavy braking. Lean to the left, get it straight, lean to the right, get back on the power, and you're back up onto the high bank Daytona trioval. We've got just a few laps to go. We've got about 12 or so laps before the conclusion of the Daytona 200. Will Curtis Roberts do it? Will Miguel Duhamel get his 4th victory at the legendary Daytona 200? Well, you're just going to have to sit back with us and watch and find out like the rest of us. It's live on Motors TV. And once again, you see Duhamel under heavy braking going into the infield section as he comes up on a back marker. Taking his time, easing through the left-hander, getting onto the power. And we're going to send you back to our American commentators for the conclusion of the Daytona 200. Enjoy the show.
You're riding with Ben Bostrom at the Daytona 200 by a rye here at Daytona International Speedway. Brian Drever, David Sadowski upstairs, Greg White, Ralph Shaheen, and our esteemed colleague, Mr. Dave Despain in the studio, bringing it to you. Riding with Ben Bostrom, who is in position to win his first ever Daytona 200. Right behind him is teammate Miguel Duhamel. In front of him is Aaron Yates, and a little further in front of Yates is Curtis Roberts, who is your leader. On board with Miguel now. And let's go to Greg White.
A little bit on Ben Bostrom. As you know, Ben rode a Ducati for the last 3 years in World Superbike competition. He says that this Honda is distinctly different from the way that Ducati rode, and every lap he goes around Daytona is a learning lap for him. He gets more and more comfortable on the motorcycle. Ben may settle in and make a charge at the end of this race. Brian?
Well, it's always a learning curve, but for Ben, at least it's going from a twin to another twin, so there has to be some similarity, David Sadowski, and yet I'm sure that what he said, what Greg just said, that the two bikes are very different, certainly applies.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some adapting for Ben Bostrom to do. Right in tow, fighting it out right now with his teammate. Draft past Miguel Duhamel. You look at the difference here on the lap times, and all depending on traffic, this thing can go any which way whatsoever. Curtis Roberts out in the lead, cutting 51s, but lap traffic may help decide this one for sure.
51.9 for leader Curtis Roberts last time. 51.4 for Yates. 51 flat for Bostrom and Miguel. Drafted back and forth past each other almost, well, we're not going to get into bump drafting here today. We're pretty sure about that. But teammates drafting one another, they do it during qualifying, and they're doing it out there on the racetrack right now, trying to gain some time on Aaron Yates.
You can see Ben's rear end there snapping out sideways as he tries to keep pace with his teammate Miguel Duhamel. Both these guys on some pretty fresh tires at this point in time.
There's Yates, just a glimpse of him in the bottom part of your screen. Under heavy braking, Ben Bostrom weaving that bike around. Miguel much smoother behind him and a little tighter line. Up onto the banking again. There is a little bit of difference in the drive up out of there. Up off of turn 6 and onto the backstretch banking. Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen with more.
You know, Brian, as far as tire management goes, it's these first few laps when you get the new set on where you really decide almost what you're going to have at the very end, because you wear through that first layer of the tire, and that kind of sets the characteristic of the tire as you work your way towards the finish of the stint. Now, the other thing is, tire management is going to come into play on the last lap, because it might not be a drafting story as we've seen in years past here at Daytona deciding the finish, but a grip story as you charge up out of that chicane on the last lap and try to get grip all the way through the banking. Who can keep it turning forward all the way to the finish line is going to make a big difference here today.
Aaron Yates a half second quicker than Curtis Roberts on the last lap, cut the lead down to under 2 seconds. Meanwhile, you can just about cover Yates Bostrom and Duhamel with a very small blanket. The three of them are very close to one another. You're on board with Miguel behind Ben, and a little ways up in the distance is Aaron Yates. Yates has the fastest lap of that most recent one, about 2/10 quicker than Roberts this time around, so he's definitely gaining some ground on the leader, Curtis Roberts, as we wind into the final 10 laps of this 200-mile event here at Daytona.
Well, it might not be the riders thinking this, but I know there's a lot of guys in the Honda camp right now thinking, if we can just finish right like this will be the sweep. This will cover every magazine, newspaper, whatever in the world. Honda sweeps Daytona.
They've only got one little problem. That's Aaron Yates running second right now. There's one little bristle in that broom that's not matching the others at this point. Curtis Roberts on the Arian Racing Honda. He and Ben Bostrom have a primary and backup bike, and Miguel, who's running 600 Supersport, actually only has one machine. Last year it was Curtis that did. They had to share a backup bike, and this year it's Miguel who's kind of, sharing a backup bike. He's on his primary machine, and he's in position to win again here too.
To pay off Dave Despain's comments about Curtis Roberts, absolutely a completely different rider here at the Daytona 200 this year.
Trying to figure out what Curtis Roberts' mindset might be is just about a full-time job around not only the United States, but certainly within the Honda camp. Some people were thinking that winning the 600 race would make it harder for him to, he would be overconfident in trying to win the 200. Some people said no. If he won, he did what he had to do. He recovered from a mistake he made last year that cost him a victory in the 600 race to win this time around. So some people are saying it'll make it better. Right now, the rider off the track behind.
What were you saying about a Honda sweep?
Yep, Aaron Yates just ran wide in the chicane, much as earlier in the race Roberts himself did. So now Aaron Yates still in second position, I believe. Yes, still barely in second. No, he lost spots. No way to go off the track that much, and he lost positions. Now there are Hondas 1, 2, and 3 on the racetrack.
Bad news for Aaron Yates. He was within a second, and actually maintaining pace with Curtis Roberts, had a shot at him. All that out the window now. 3 Hondas lead the Daytona 200.
And that was under braking going into the chicane, so we're talking about tire management on the rear, and he makes an error on the front end of the machine. John Jacoby on the 49 bike, and the 149 of Keith Pinkstaff going another lap down.
Ben Bostrom would love to win this race. If he could just catch Curtis Roberts. That time by the gap back to from Curtis to Ben Bostrom, 1.7 seconds. We'll keep an eye on that number. With 10 to go, starting to heat up.
Everything is different now with Aaron Yates out of the mix. It is indeed a Honda sweep in the making. And which Honda will win is the question right now, as Miguel is stalking his 2 teammates in third, and you know that third's a good place to be on the last lap coming off the chicane.
Absolutely, and now that they've the wind kind of changed throughout the week, Al Ludington put a different primary gear on the bike. Maybe that'll come into play. Maybe he'll have a little bit different gearing than the other 2 guys.
On board with Miguel, chasing Ben, chasing Curtis Roberts. Listening to the Hondas go down into turn number 1 with 9 laps to go. Holy shamoly! Pick the words of your choice. We got Honda's nose to tail in the final laps of the Daytona 200. Curtis Roberts, the youngest member of the team. Chasing him is Ben Bostrom with all that World Superbike experience. And chasing them both is Miguel Duhamel, the master, the maestro of Daytona.
Miguel just hanging back. This could be strategy playing out. Curtis Roberts being overtaken right now by his Honda teammate, Ben Bostrom. He doesn't want to leave this one either. Cat and mouse being played amongst the Honda teammates right now.
Bostrom making the push to see if he can try to get away in the closing laps from Roberts.
Take a look at the last lap there from Miguel Duhamel, 353. We got a 197 out of Curtis Roberts. All those things aren't going to matter at all. It's going to be who's going to lead out of the chicane and who's going to get the draft.
Robertson second. Bostrom trying to make a break for it here as he made a pass on Curtis Roberts, who's sniffing around for the quiet air behind Bostrom's machine, while Miguel, who we just also overheard a communication from Al Ludington saying L10, 10 laps to go. Miguel, if you have anything left, now is the time. He's been here enough to know, without Al's prompting, that indeed the final laps at Daytona are the crucial ones.
Start watching the tires.
Bostrom, Roberts, Duhamel, 1, 2, 3 right now. Aaron Yates, who ran off in the chicane, lost nearly 10 seconds. They come up behind J.J. Retland again and the number 35 of Woody Dethridge. Dethridge running in 12th position, but Mike Barnes is still the top privateer in 8th.
All three Hondas getting through the lap traffic with ease. I'm saying watch the tires. Whatever bike seems to be the most stable driving off of these infield turns. And especially this turn here, this tells it the tale of the left side of the tire. If they can get out onto the banking without a whole lot of oscillation in the chassis, you can see that right there. Curtis Roberts struggling for traction. That tire's spinning up on him.
So they have lapped all the way into 11th place. 11 riders on the lead lap, and the first 3 are all Hondas. Laps are winding down at Daytona. Stay with us.
As we come back for the last 6 laps of the race, we've got a Honda battle amongst 3 riders. We got Kenny Roberts battling with Ben Bostrom and Miguel Duhamel, the more experienced rider, in 3rd. It's going to be a Honda showdown over the last 6 laps. Who will take it? Who knows? The one thing we do know is we don't want to... There we go. Roberts goes back to the lead. We do not want to be leading the last lap. We want to be leading just at the last bit of the chicane to get that slipstream coming onto the banking and taking the flag at the line. So a lot of tactics are going on. Each rider's thinking in his own helmet. What do I need to do? Where do I need to be? Will lap traffic play a part in today's race? Definitely. As you see, there's 65 riders out there. So who will it be? Will it be the hard charger Curtis Roberts, who's looking to do the double? Will it be Ben Bostrom with his years of experience on the World Superbike Trail? Will it be Miguel Duhamel, the 3-time winner, looking for number 4, looking to tie Freddie Spencer? Well, in just a few short laps, we'll get the answers to all these questions. Once again, as we see the lead pack of Honda riders wagering their way through the lap traffic, we're going to see who's going to do it. But it looks like Curtis Roberts has gotten a slight advantage. He's pulled out a little bit of a lead, but Bostrom and Duhamel will definitely be on their bikes, ready to pick up the lead, ready to pick up the accelerator, and definitely make ground on Curtis Roberts. Up onto the high banks of Daytona, speeds in excess of 170, 175 miles per hour. Coming down to the backstretch.
Stay with the 80 bike.
Staying low in the fairing. And here we have Duhamel. He's making ground on Ben Bostrom as they come into the backstretch chicane. Roberts still with a little bit of a lead, a little bit of air between him and his 2nd and 3rd place Honda co-riders, teammates. Not really teammates, but they're all in the same machine.
201 is not Yates.
And here we have Aaron Yates, who's trying to fight his way back up. And we will take you back to the States for the conclusion of the Daytona 200. Gentlemen, it's back to you.
6 laps to go, and Curtis Roberts is the leader. Caught a break in traffic, made a pass on Ben Bostrom, and took the lead. And now Bostrom and Duhamel are trying to work together again to chase down their young teammate.
Oh boy, they had to really reel it through the chicane that time to catch Curtis Roberts. He stretched it out through the traffic, as you said, Brian, and he was able to actually get far enough out to where they couldn't draft him. But they stuck their necks out. Both Ben Bostrom on the 155 and Miguel Duhamel on the 17. They stuck their necks out big time to reel him back in.
And now they're gaining on him through the infield. They just crossed the stripe. We're in 5 laps to go right now. And Aaron Yates, remember him? Made a mistake in the chicane, lost 10 seconds. He's within 7. He's coming back, and he's making about a second a lap on the leaders. And there's Aaron Yates working solo right now to try to catch back up to the 3 Hondas that passed him when he ran off the track. He is making a second a lap. He's doing 151.5, and the other guys in traffic are doing 53s and high 52s. If he keeps that up, he will catch him on the final couple of laps, if he doesn't burn his tires up trying. So Yates is coming, and the 3 Hondas have got an intra-squad scrimmage going for the win at Daytona. A sweep.
See what happens this time into the chicane. Miguel Duhamel might decide to get around Ben Bostrom and stop playing around in 3rd. They know they need to catch up to Curtis Roberts here on the drive out. Last time by the French straightaway, they had no draft off the 80 bike. taking a look back for Aaron Yates.
And that you don't have to look far. Here he comes. He's just behind number 35, Woody Deatherage again, and he is definitely gaining. It went from 10 to 8 to 6. He's gaining a second, almost 2 every lap. And the lead changes again. And Bostrom goes to the point with Roberts second. Duhamel third. Seems to be content to stay there.
Who's got the guts down into turn 1? Curtis Roberts around the outside.
Well, we know Curtis Roberts has got the guts, and on pure desire, you would have to say he would be the toughest guy around. And almost anyone in the paddock said if Curtis is there with 2 or 3 laps to go, look out, don't get in his way.
Oh, these guys are definitely behaving. Normally you'd see 3 Hondas sliding sideways with smoke pouring off the tire. But they know they're going to need every bit of that tire that Ralph talked about from the drive out of the chicane. If you spin it up out there and smoke it, you won't propel yourself forward.
Yates' lap time, that circuit matched that of the leader. He ran into some traffic, and the gap is still 6.8 seconds back to Aaron Yates. Running with Miguel Duhamel in third spot, right behind Ben Bostrom. Eric Bostrom running in fifth, a distant fifth at this point, 22 seconds back from the leader. Mladen still sixth. Then Spies, Michael Barnes, Jason Pridmore on that ugly sounding broken exhaust pipe Suzuki of his, and Sean Higbee rounding out the top 10.
Jason doing a great job. Won't be able to hear what anybody's saying for about a week, but he's doing a great job driving that bike. With its condition, broken exhaust pipe at Daytona, that would drive you nuts.
Yeah, it's making some racket out there. Here they come. Up behind Curtis Roberts, who's inside a lap rider, number 79. That's Rick Shaw, who's going to complete another Daytona 200 here. He's already set the mileage record. And here comes Aaron Yates. He is on the move. He has got the eye of the tiger, picking the front wheel up and flopping it back down again. Flat tracking that thing off the chicane.
Spreading it out a little bit up front.
Take a look at Aaron Yates one more time in case you missed it.
Cross up wheelie through the dirt.
Well, now Aaron Yates is really ready, because when he gets a little dirt in his nose, and we've said that, that means he's really ready.
Doesn't have the time. With 3 laps to go, he's too far back. It's all going to happen up front here right now. Curtis Roberts, he was my pick to win this race. And I said if he gets into this type of situation, he will not be denied. He'll rather throw the bike on the ground.
Well, you and I both threw down on Chris Carter's radio show the other night, and I picked Miguel Duhamel the master. So let's see. Ben Bostrom right in the middle right now as Roberts continues to hold a slight advantage. Mr. Despain, shall we hear from you, sir?
Well, I think it's all about tires and desire. How about that move right there? Maybe it's the tires, maybe it's Curtis just getting a little out of control, as some predicted late in the race. Curtis wants so much to be his old man, and he's got so far to go to prove that. Here's a great opportunity to take a huge step. Bostrom wants to demonstrate that he's still for real. He comes back from the World Championship, has to come home, tail between his legs. Not if he wins Daytona. Miguel Duhamel, absolute master of the draft. If I had to put my 50 cents down, it would be on number 17.
Well, for Curtis Roberts, following in the footsteps, somewhat distant footsteps of his father, who won here on a 250.
Now Ben Bostrom using the dirt track approach out of the chicane, trying to straighten that out. Picking the dirt track lines now at the Daytona 200. Curtis Roberts actually moved out of the way in the second horseshoe. It wasn't an error. He purposely moved over and let the other 2 guys by. He made his mind up. What am I doing? This is silly for me to lead this race. I'm going to be the man from third to first, and that's his strategy from this point out.
Kenny Roberts also winning 3 times on the old Formula One class that preceded AMA Superbike in the premier race at Daytona every year. And now Curtis Roberts running in third.
There's going to definitely be a double draft. It always helps to have 2 bikes cutting a hole through the wind around the banking. Curtis is going to have to figure out whether these guys are going to let him go high or low. There'll be some more cat and mouse and down the back straightaway. Ben Bostrom knows he's not supposed to lead out of the chicane. It's just going to be very fun to see how this one pans out.
Now, both Curtis and Miguel were on the podium and had a practice race draft going in the 600 race, whereas Ben Bostrom, who was also competing, was much further back and didn't really get a chance to contest. So Curtis ended up winning that one. Miguel third. Let's see how they do here in the big one. 2 laps to go right now, coming up on the white flag.
Curtis really babied his tire out of turn 6 that time, and it cost him a little bit of distance on the racetrack. We'll see if he can reel this back in with 2 to go. Curtis back about 60 yards, but the draft works real good back there. He's got him.
Breaking into the chicane. Bostrom, Duhamel, Roberts in that order, all on Honda RC51s. We're riding with Miguel.
Brian, what do you think about the team orders? Are they going to try to zigzag and wig, or just try to everybody stay straight?
You know, they've got radios, and they can certainly issue orders on the fly here, but I think at this point, all the guys on pit wall are just saying, as long as nobody falls down, we're all going to be pretty happy. Who's going to be the happiest? Well, that'll be the crew for the guy that gets across the line first. 1 lap to go at Daytona.
Curtis had a little sample there of what the draft's going to give him and how far he needs to let these guys go out ahead of him so he can slingshot past and not be counterattacked. How's that for in your face? Chevy Trucks onboard cam with Miguel Duhamel.
I think I felt something burning my nose off the exhaust pipe out of that one, Sadowski. Here we go. Bostrom, Roberts, and Duhamel past Rich Conacelli, the left rider. Hopefully they won't run into a lot more traffic.
I don't know.
Where do you want to be on the last lap? First, second, or third?
They got a bunch of traffic ahead of them, and it's not singles. There's 3 and 4 guys riding together. I think I'd want to be the first man through the traffic, and then when I get to the chicane, I'll just let everybody pass me.
Right now it's Bostrom, then Roberts, then Duhamel. All 3 seem to be on very equal ground, tire-wise, machine-wise. Of course, they're almost identical as they continue to come up through traffic. Tom Montano in the 13 just ahead of them right now. You want to catch these guys on the banking if possible and not run into them.
Curtis Roberts really struggling to get out of turn 6, but he did a nice power slide, brought the bike up to the center of the tire, kept it pinned.
Look at Bostrom getting away, though. He's going to be the first one past the lap rider on the approach to the chicane down the backstretch. The other 2 are safely by. No problem there. No traffic immediately in front of them. It looks like they might have a clean finish once they get up onto the banking. 2 bikes just ahead of them, but they should be able to get them on the exit from the chicane.
Miguel Duhamel sitting pretty right now. It's exactly where you want to be. You can actually dial it out, but he'll go cleanly around Curtis Roberts. Curtis is kind of way back there, timing a slingshot.
Yep, here comes Miguel into second position, lining up the leader for the draft.
Curtis will have the double draft. He can get Duhamel and then just pick it right up to Ben.
Little wiggle out of Curtis's bike. Miguel makes the pass early down on the inside. He's by. He's going to win. Miguel Duhamel wins for the 4th time in Superbike and the 10th time in his career at Daytona. What a finish. The master of the high banks does it again. Aaron Yates crossing the line in 4th position after he had this race won. A mistake by Aaron Yates gave Honda a sweep and gave their senior member his 4th Superbike victory.
He is so happy. That's the hardest fought win. He knows it. That is sweet victory right there.
Dave Despain, you were right. Fire and desire and experience and all the things you said. Miguel Duhamel possesses the deepest bag of tricks in American racing.
I just love it when guys like him make me look smart. Thanks, Miguel, for staying up and coming on wind tunnel late the other night. I'm glad it didn't hurt you. Glad you got plenty of sleep. If that's 80%, man, this guy's going to be a terror next year when he comes back and tries to tie Scott Russell's record and becomes co-Mr. Daytona. That was pretty stout.
The only man, to my knowledge, that has won 4 times in a single class. We've got 5-time winners. We've got 6-time winners. We got 3-time winners. Now Miguel becomes a 6-time winner in Super Sport and a 4-time winner on Superbike. The master, indeed. Flew what flew?
I want to hear his explanation of that last lap when he gets to victory circle. He timed it just right, used patience. Curtis Roberts got a little impatient coming out of the chicane, and it gave him a little difficulty. And it actually delayed Miguel Duhamel's original starting point to go for the slingshot, but just an amazing finish.
Let's hear from Ralph Shaheen.
Well, I'm with Al Ludington. What a tremendous finish. How much of this came to that primary gear change you made just before the start of the race?
Oh, for sure. If we hadn't changed that primary, he'd been up against the rev limiter. No question about it. That had to have helped. But, you know, he sat back there. You watch him in third. You watch him in second. You watch him third. He's letting the other guys' tires do the work, saving his, and that's what he was saving it for. The guy's dodgy. He's been here before. He knows how to do it.
You guys were obviously talking to him on the radios as you were coming to the end of this race. What were you telling him?
Just be easy on the tires, 10 laps to go. Let them run. You're running them down. Don't worry about it. Save the tires. He knows what to do. I'm just venting energy when I do that.
Greg White, congratulations, Al.
Thanks, Ralph. Down here with Merlin Plumley. Second place for your rider, but come on. Honda 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, when you got a race like that, you know, nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants to get second. But in that race, there were no losers, man. Those three guys were so awesome. And like the whole Honda crew, you know, we did both Miguel's and Vinny's pits on this side. Curtis is down there. All the boys were perfect. Man, I'm so stoked. Yeah,
Did you guys share any information, you know, before the race?
Oh, always. This team, there are no closed books. This is one big open team. We all trade setup stuff. I mean, we copied a little bit of Curtis's stuff because he had us covered earlier in the week, and it definitely helped us. I mean, this is a really, really good team to work in right now. And I mean, obviously, we got three really good guys. And I feel, I mean, my hat's off to Aaron Yates, man. He rode one heck of a race. And,
well, we're going to see you in victory lane, so get on over there, and we'll see you there in a second. Brian?
All right, well, lots of happy faces down in the Honda camp. Talking to them earlier this season, they said, you know, in the past, we've talked about this was my bike, this was my bike, this was my bike. He said, this year we got three bikes, they're our bikes. Yep. So that no closed books thing seems to have paid off for him here with a 1, 2, 3 finish at the Daytona 200 by Arai. Miguel Duhamel carrying the checkered flag. We'll hear from him in victory lane when we come back.
In 7, 11 minutes, 8 with 34, Michael Barnes on the Creato Racing Suzuki. Great ride for Barnes.
Welcome back to the Daytona 200 by Arai. Victory lane is ready. The winners are not quite there because Miguel is still celebrating, riding around the racetrack. And Ski, one last radio transmission between crew chief Al Ludington and Miguel Duhamel. Okay, we'll keep that one private, but let's just say that Al was pretty happy and very eager for Miguel to get back to the pits. Well, he's there now, and you can see the celebration has started, and every one of the factory and Arion Honda team members are there. Brian Uchida in the foreground. There's John Ethel. These guys have all worked as a group, so the men in red have put their guys 1, 2, 3 on the podium here at Daytona.
Brian, it's one thing to win a race, you know, when you're out in front, you know the last lap, but the race is all yours. But Daytona, you come down to the last 10th of a second, you don't know who's going to win the race. And when you finally realize it's you, watch the reaction you're going to see from Miguel Duhamel. Solidly prepared motorcycle. We were questioning the reliability of that. Forget it. I take it all back. Miguel Duhamel rode the wheels off that thing. So did his teammates, too. Yeah. It was just a spectacular event to watch.
And it was a beautifully timed move. He sensed something about Curtis Roberts' bike that Roberts was not able to hang on, you know, or gain on Ben up on the banking. And then Miguel times it early. Let's go downstairs now. Greg White in the middle of what looks like a pretty happy celebration. Chuck Miller, the team manager, over for the last hug.
Oh, so what's up? 51st last year, first this year. Congratulations, man. That was awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, man, the bike was so good. I mean, Al Ludington, Amar Bazar, Darren Marshall, Yuji Kikuchi, Jason Lubin, the Woodman, Woody, and Chuck Miller. I mean, all the guys at Honda that worked so hard. Sean Renfro was here. I mean, who else? Ray Plum, Greg White, the ball beauty, believing in me. Thank you, brother. I watched your line in the Boxer Cup yesterday, and I knew what not to do. But
ouch.
Yeah, man, this is so fun. This is so great. My team did a great job. They gave me a great bike. I was out there feeling good, not really working that hard, not sweating too hard. A Shoei helmet, my Joe Rocket letters, my Alpine Star boot, getting me cool all day.
All right, let's talk about the actual race. All right, let's talk about the race. Tell us, what was your approach to the race at the beginning?
I said it before, right before the thing. I had a feeling it was going to be 3 or 4 guys going for the finish, just like the 600 race. And I knew that Ben was riding good, and Curtis and all those guys. I got something here. Curtis and Ben was doing real good, and I was just out there. Okay, I knew I could draft past 1 guy. I didn't want to be behind 2, and I was behind Curtis going into the chicane. And I'm like, okay, I gotta do this right. And Curtis came out, and he was giving himself a little bit too much of a run. And I said, you know, obviously he's trying to do it for his own win, but I thought he was a little too far, so I used him, got a draft, got by with Ben. Ben got a drop on a lap rider. Just when I split those guys, Ben came back on me. Man, it was really tight. We moved over, and then I was like thinking, oh no, Curtis is getting the double draft. Watch that guy go around us, you know. But it held up. I mean, I was really saving my tires, and I think that's what made the difference at the end. My Dunlop tires were hooking up hard. And when I did that draft and I got by, even though they were in my draft, I was hooking up better than them. I did a really good job saving my tires, and I did that job with my Honda racing team, my RC51, and the guys that gave me such a great bike for this race. It was just unbelievable. I was just so happy. And, you know, it's going to have to be a consolation prize and win the 600, but I'll take this one anyway, Craig. You know me, I'm an easygoing guy. Yeah!
Hey, of all the wins you've had here at Daytona, how does this one rank?
This is so sweet. I was thinking the whole race, just stay in the race, stay focused. Stay out there. It was 57 laps of just full-on concentration. And this has got to be one of my sweetest because there were 3 guys going to the end. There was nothing decided. It was not just 1 guy against 1 guy. There was 3 guys, 3 top guys, Curtis Roberts and Ben Bostrom. And I'm just happy to plaster the Daytona podium with 3 on the RC51. And thank God I came out on top. My girlfriend, Lynette, thanks for being with me, taking my call, taking care of me. Al took care of me, gave me a call. Mom and Dad are here. They're just happy it can be. So, and all my fans that believe in me for so many years. This one's for us, buddy. Woo!
Well, congratulations, man. That was awesome. Brian?
Woo! Well, Miguel finally gets through all the thank yous, gets down to the business of describing that last lap double pass, first on Curtis and then on Ben Bostrom for the win.